Welcome to IT Pro TV. I'm your host, Don.
Coming at you live from San Francisco, California.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello again. Thank you for watching IT Pro TV, helping you learn wherever you go. I'm your host, Zach Memis, as we continue on with CompTIA A+ 902, and we're going to troubleshoot PC issues. And the person bringing us all that information that we need is our IT Pro, Wes Brian. Wes, good morning, sir. Nice to see you.
Oh, man, thanks for having me here. That's right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. That's right. We are looking at PC security issues. Specifically, we've got a couple of episodes that the titles are pretty darn similar, right? In another episode, we talked about troubleshooting some of the common PC issues that you would see, just basically more on the operation side and functionality. Now we're going to be diving into security issues, right? So don't let these confuse you, right? We have two different objectives that we're tackling here, and if you're looking for just basic functionality, right, then you're going to definitely want to check out the other episode. This one here is giving a scenario troubleshoot common PC security issues with appropriate tools and best practices. As you can see, that we couldn't fit that in the title, so I'll just read it off to you. And again, that is 4.2. So that is what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead. We're going to dive right in. They do talk about common symptoms, and there are plenty of them out there for us. So what are some of the first ones that we need to talk about? Well, this is one that really has kind of gone by the wayside. We don't see it as much today, and that's not to say that you're not going to see it, but we don't see it by far as much as we did maybe 10 years ago, and those are pop-ups. Right, we look at pop-ups. Pop-ups are definitely something that we have to worry about. Pop-ups can be symptomatic, of some kind of security issue. It could be adware. Remember that one of the definitions of adware, right? Adware gets on your system, and what it does is it strategically puts pop-ups, just all these different pop-ups up on your screen, and a lot of times it's based on your browsing habits as well too. You go to a website, and what happens is an ActiveX control in Windows or a little extension goes to execute, and when it does, this adware gets on your machine. All right, now there are some ways that we can combat this. Now there are third-party utilities that are out there that basically allow you to have pop-up blockers. Other things that you can do too, you can have like ad blockers as well. There is one called Ad Blocker that I personally really like. But I will tell you that also that can reduce, like ad blockers, they can reduce the functionality of your overall browsing experience. The reason I say that is because websites make money on ads. I mean, let's face it, that's how they make their money, right? So I'm not telling you that it's bad to go to a website that has ads. I mean, that's how they're making their income. And sometimes what they'll do is their website can actually detect, usually they can detect not only the browser or the version and the update that you're using, but also whether you're running one of these ad blockers too. So keep that in mind, that they might say, hey, if you want to actually see our website, you got to turn your ad blocker off. But one of the things you should always have running on your systems are what are known as pop-up blockers. And let me show you. I've got our Windows 8.1 machine that we've been using over the past few episodes here. There's Windows 7 as well, but I just happen to be using Windows 8.1 here. And if I let me go ahead and let me open up our Internet Explorer here. And it's going to take us right to our IT Pro TV website. Or it's going to tell me that there's an error. So that's a really good way to block pop-ups. But one of the things that I do want to show you here, once this thing actually gets started up here. All right, boy, that is taking a while. There we go. What I want to get into is really the tools here. So you can see over here on the right-hand side, if I was to kind of zoom in, we have our internet options. Remember, there's a few different ways you can get to internet options. This is one of the ways you can get to internet options. You've probably seen us talk about this in other episodes. Now, sometimes if you get pop-ups within your website, you can see how, it wouldn't even allow our website to open up, and that can be problematic as well when it comes to your browsing. So there's other ways that you can ensure that your pop-up blocker is on without having to open the browser, so you don't have to wait like we did there. So let me show you how you could do that. If you right-click on your Windows tile, and we'll go ahead and we'll go to our control panel. All right, and we're going to go to System and Security, and you know what? How about we go to the right side of the river here? Network and Internet there, and Internet Options. Again, make sure that I tell you that right. Control panel, network, and internet options, and that brings up our internet properties. They call it. It's the same exact interface here. Other ways that you could open this up too. You could do this from your modern UI, Metro UI, if you will. You could do inet dot Charlie Papa Lima, or CPL, or actually, you know, no dot there, inet cpl.cpl. It's kind of double redundant there, and you can see this little batch file or executable, if you will, and when that runs, that also runs the same thing, internet property. So a few different ways to get to your internet, what they call internet properties. You might also see it called internet options if you're going to browse it through a couple different ways. Now, what I really am worried about here is the privacy tab. We've talked about these different tabs in other episodes here, but if you notice the privacy tab, it says blocks things like third-party cookies that don't have privacy policies. But what I really want to look at here is notice that that block or that pop-up blocker is right there, and by default this has been turned on in IE and Internet Explorer for a very long time. Understand that Chrome, it doesn't matter if you're using Chrome. I personally like the Chrome browser. It's what I use because I use a lot of the Google-based technology, so it integrates all my technologies, integrates my bookmarks, and when I install Chrome on another machine, my bookmarks are there. So, you know, again, I don't want this to be a show about Chrome, but that's what I use. But they also have their security built in as well. And you can see that it's right here. Well, maybe there's some sites that you want to allow certain pop-ups. I'm not sure why, but maybe you do. It could be maybe you're testing a website, right, for your company. Maybe you're in a testing environment, right, and you might need to add something like your website here. So I could do something like HTTPS if I wanted to, and I could do IT pro .tv. And if I wanted to, I could turn around and I could add this site. Now, notice that this little asterisk symbol is right here, and the asterisk symbol is basically a wildcard. So if we had demo.itpro.tv, if we had web.itpro.tv, everything would fall under it. Basically, the wildcard says anything within that domain, go ahead and throw it in here, make an exception to the rule. Now, there are some things that we can do. We can adjust the levels too. Again, allow pop-ups from secure sites. In this case, because I put HTTPS in there, that would be a secure site. And then I could say, you know what? No, block all pop-ups. Every single pop-up that you want, just go ahead and block it. So those are things that could be telltale signs that you might have an issue, right? Again, is that there are pop-ups that are coming up on your on your interface. Typically, usually a lot of times it's with your browsing habits. If they do start to happen outside of your browser, then chances are you do have some kind of nasty adware on your machine. At this point, what you're going to want to do is run some anti-malware or antivirus software, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Now, the other thing that can happen too with your browsing habits, again with browsers in general, is what's known as browser redirection. I've seen this happen. And that's where you do something like, for instance, maybe firing up your web browser, and when you fire up your web browser, instead of it taking you out to your site, in fact, I've kind of got like a browser redirection going on. Let me see if I can recreate that again. And then I should get an error, hopefully. Oh, and now I don't get the error. That figures. Let me try one more time here. Browser redirections are, again, definitely a symptom that of some kind of virus, right? This can happen as well. Let me go ahead and delete my history here real quick and see if I can cause that error to happen one more time. And then what you'll see is essentially where you think you should be going to, like your home page. You can see that my home page is HTTPS here in our general settings and internet properties or internet options. You know, you can see where my home page should be. And unfortunately, when I open the web browser, it doesn't take me there. It takes me somewhere else. And there we go. All right. So notice that I'm getting this 404 error, right? They're not finding the web page, right? Or it could be that it takes you to a website. You're like, wait a second. I don't usually browse to that website. What's going on? Again, that could be a telltale sign that you've got some kind of browser redirection. And what happens a lot of times is when you get some kind of adware, spyware, or general malware, you'll notice that if you go into your internet options, that your home page has changed. Now, understand it's probably never going to be this obvious, but you might come in here and see something like HTTP, I just got hacked.com. Right now, obviously, it's probably not going to be that obvious, I should say, but it might happen.
Haha, the joke's on you.com.
Something like that, absolutely, Zach. You know, so one of the things that you can do when that happens, again, I would say run your anti-malware software, run something like Windows Defender, run something like Malwarebytes, Symantec, Norton. You know, there's a lot of them that are out there. And then I would also come back in here, and what I would do is do you just reset your home page if you have to. And again, one of the things I could do just like this right here. So let me see here, go ahead and choose apply, and then hopefully when I hit my home button, what happens is, oh, and it looks like I did not spell that right because apparently they're trying to sell me our website. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and try that again.
That's a bad thing.
Swing and a miss right there on camera, right? So what did I do here? Oh, IT dot. Oh, you got to spell you do have to spell your home page right if you wanted to go to the right page. So browser redirections to the it could be user error too. So let's see if that works. All right, and we'll start it over here. It's caching some stuff in the background again, trying to simulate that browser redirection. But again, that kind of gives you an idea of what could happen. You know, a browser redirection is something that is a telltale sign that you have some kind of, not necessarily maybe a very bad malicious virus. It could be just something as simple as adware that could also produce pop-ups. Now, what else do we have, right? Some of the other things that we have to worry about are security alerts. Security alerts do happen. Inside of Windows Vista, it would have been what's known as the Security Center. As of Windows 7 and beyond, it would be known as the Action Center. And this is a good thing to be aware of, right? Sometimes you'll see that maybe there's a virus that's present too, and this could be the fact that your anti-malware system or software or antivirus software is actually catching the virus, and it's throwing you a warning that says, hey, you need to do something about this. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's caught a virus too. It could be the fact that you've made a configuration change or some configuration has happened to your machine and it's reduced the overall security of the operating system. Let me show you what I mean. I can actually kind of demonstrate this, and hopefully it goes over a little bit better than the browser redirection in my typo. But my head's kind of covering this one up, and I'll kind of show you what we can do here. Let me go to our services console. Now understand that I'm going to be implementing this and kind of doing this one on purpose. And I do see that it is our firewall services started. Needs to be started, I should say. Now, watch what happens here in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you know, where my head is right now. If I end up disabling this, and I choose apply, and then I choose stop, notice what we have here. We've got a security alert that says the Windows firewall is turned off. Tap or click to turn on. Now I'm going to go ahead and notice that it tells me, here's another alert. And remember I told you Action Center inside of Windows 7 and Windows 8.1. This would have been Security Center in Vista. All right, so it's telling me, hey, you've got an issue here. You need to check it out. Now let me also show you another place that this might happen. Or where you can see the warnings there. If I right click on my Windows charm and I choose Control Panel, System and Security, keep in mind that this would not be called, I can't stress that enough just for the exam, this would be called Action Center in Vista. It would be called Security Center, but you'd see a lot of the same information. Notice that we've got the security information here, and it's saying, hey, you need to turn the firewall on, and notice that it is an administrative privilege. Remember one of the things, and I'll go ahead and notice, and here's a great thing to notice too. Notice I just said turn it on, and it says I can't turn it on. Why? Well, that really isn't the firewall that can't be turned on. It's actually the service that you've seen in the background that I disabled. Now, viruses and malware will do that, and you have to know how you'd remedy that. In this case, I would go, and you guys seen that I did it manually myself here, but please understand that viruses can also do this too. So it is good to know where to fix this. Services.msc or inside of computer management, you can also find that too. Notice that when I turn on the firewall, right, I can turn the startup type to automatic, which is what we want. We choose OK. And even though it is running, let me just double check, because all I did was change the service. I changed the firewall properties there and it to start up automatically. What I didn't do is actually start the service. So once I start the service, all right, then you want to go back and you want to check out your firewall and control panel to verify if it is running or if it just turned the service on. That's the underlying, again, the underlying process that really runs the Windows firewall in the background. So right-clicking on our Windows charm here, Windows tile, we're going to choose Control Panel. We're going to go back to System and Security, the Windows firewall, and I can see that, yes, the firewall is on, and I am connected to one of the profiles, right? So if I wanted to see whether it was on or off, I could see that right here, but I can also see this from the Action Center. Notice when I go into Action Center, it doesn't give me that security alert anymore that says that my firewall is off. Now, notice the other security alert that happens too. Notice it says that Windows Defender needs to scan your computer as well, and it also gives me some information about the various dynamic security that is built into Windows. And when these are modified, sometimes you will get security alerts. And let's just kind of look at them individually here, because since this is a security-related issue, you do want, or episode, you do want to kind of know some of these settings here. Notice that it does tell me the firewall is on. Patch management is something that you need, because remember, inside of Windows Update and Patch Management, we have hot fixes that are basically security patches that fix known functionality flaws, exploitable vulnerabilities, and patch the system. Right? We put a patch over the hole in the in the dam, if you will. Notice that virus protection. It does say that it is on. However, it says it's on, but it also says that we need to do something, right? So we need to schedule scans. We'll show you a little bit more about Windows Defender coming up here. Notice that spyware, unwanted software protection is on. Well, unwanted software protection is another part of the dynamic security that's built into Windows that can also be disabled if you have a virus. Let me show you where that is. If we open up our Internet Explorer, and again, my browser redirection's still happening there in the background. I'll have to reset that after the show's over. But if I go ahead and I go back to our Internet options, all right, you're going to notice that there is, and do I have that right here, security? Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to show you. Enabling protective mode. If this is disabled, understand that what protected mode is a quarantine portion of your system memory that says Internet Explorer can send code there, but it can't execute it, right? It's the way Internet Explorer protects itself. It says, okay, I don't mind you using this code, but when you throw that code in there, you're not going to be able to execute it in any way. So again, protected mode is good. It's kind of like the industry standard that we call NX, the no execute bit, or data execution protection, that's also built into Windows as well. So you do keep that in mind, but that's not exactly what I wanted to show you. Notice that we have the safety option here. This is where I wanted to go. There's so many different pieces of dynamic security here. It is good to know at multiple on multiple levels. Notice if I go to safety here, I kind of scroll over. All right, there is this turn off smart screen filter. Now I don't want to do that. That lets me know that it's on. All right, but smart screen filter is something that has been built into Windows for a good long while now, and it does a couple of things. One of the things it does is every time you visit a website, the website's URL, the Uniform Resource Locator that's in the address bar, is sent to Microsoft and checked, if you will, against a reputation database. And that reputation database is basically a database of known websites for vulnerabilities and phishing scams and malware distribution, if you will, unsafe software downloads. And if it is found that it is in that list, it's going to throw a little red warning here, a red bar across the address bar, and say, hey, you're going to want to navigate away from this site. It's not recommended. If you want to, you can continue, but we don't recommend it. The other thing that's really cool about Smart Screen Filter is it also looks at software that you would download over the internet, and it checks digital signatures, and it checks that reputation database, and if it's potentially unsafe, it's going to warn you about it. Say, hey, you don't actually want to run this software. So know that is something that's there, and it could also produce security alerts if it is turned on. It is certainly something that you don't want to turn off. So those are some of the additional internet security settings that are set to their recommended levels. We can see that that's turned on. We want it turned on more so. Notice Smart Screen I just talked about right here. You can actually see some of the things that it tells you right here. Smart Screen is helping protect your PC from unrecognized apps and files that are downloaded from the internet. I can also click the hyperlink right here, and if I do, hey, imagine that. Notice that this is another part of the Smart Screen Filter that we've talked about. One side of the tracks is the URLs. The other side of the tracks that it's also built into the software is really looking at applications, right? Notice that it says get administrative approval before running unrecognized apps. Well, how do we recognize them and how do we not recognize them? Well, recognize your apps because they have a digital security stamp on it. We call it digital signatures, and those of you that are going on a more advanced training and security training, you'll learn what a digital certificate is. It's essentially an electronic signature. Think of it as a seal of approval that is put on an application, a piece of software, and that seal of approval can be checked by an external source, and we can relate that information to what Windows is aware of. And if it says, oh yeah, I recognize that. So for instance, if I wanted to know, hey, delivery confirmation, and inside of like my snail mail, right? Well, the United States Postal Service would put a stamp on it. Well, I trust the United States Postal Service because giving what their industry is, right? So we can check the fact that digital signature says, hey, I know who this software came from, and then more so that I know that the software hasn't been modified in any way. One of the other ones here, if we can show that just for a second longer, warn before running any unrecognized app but don't require administrative level approval. Be careful. And the reason I say that is because you always implement the principal of least privilege in your computers. You only give the privileges that are necessary to do your day-to-day functions, right? If you give a standard user the ability to download and run an app, it won't be long before you have 30 toolbars in the Internet Explorer, and every time it opens up, it takes about 30 minutes to open up because of all the things that are running in the background, because they didn't realize, hey, it said I could run it. Why not just click next, 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 or okay, and before you know it, you've got a compromised system. And then certainly we don't want to turn off the smart screen filter. So some of the security alerts that you could see inside of your operating system. Now, another one I want to kind of show you too is, what would happen if you see some kind of security alert that indicates I have a virus. All right, well, let me kind of show you what I mean here. We can actually kind of simulate this. Now, I'm going to let you know I'm not infecting this machine. It's going to look like I'm going to infect this machine, but this is actually a test that you can do yourselves. You can go out and you can check it out. It's called the ICAR virus strain or string. It's essentially what a whole bunch of manufacturers, security manufacturers did is they got together and all these anti-malware companies said, hey, is there a way that we could just classify this string of text as being a virus just so we can test whether the antivirus software is working? And that's what they did. So let me show you what I mean here. Now my head's going to kind of cover this up because this happens really quick here. Sometimes it happens in the lower left hand or lower right hand corner. Sometimes it's the upper right hand corner. Can't really tell which one. And then notice here what we have. All right. Now notice that it tells me found some malware. Windows Defender is removing it. Also understand that it gives me this little security alert that says unexpected error is keeping you from copying this file. If you continue, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really say blah, 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 but that's how I'm going to interpret it. But notice the error. It says the operation did not complete successfully because the file contains a virus or potentially unwanted software, and we could try again, and it's not going to work. So pay attention to your security alerts. Remember that security alerts are important to keep an eye on. And that's probably another thing that I want you to be aware of as well. Let me go ahead and close this down here now that we've seen. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't actually a virus. Understand that. I tell you what, I can kind of show you guys so you know what that is in the background here. Let me go ahead, and I'm on my Mac here. Mac doesn't react to it. But essentially, this is just a string of text here that the virus manufacturer said, hey, let's put these characters together, and we'll just recognize that as a virus. And the only thing we're using it for is to test that your antivirus software is running. It's not actually a virus, but it's a great way. And I would encourage you guys out there, if you want to try it out and make sure that your antivirus software is running, that it is actually functioning. It's a great way to test it.
So just a real quick question, because you're doing great, and I don't want to interrupt your stream of consciousness here, but Windows has so much built-in security. I know you mentioned before getting some outside antivirus like Norton and whatever. I mean, is it really that important, or can you just let Windows do its thing?
Well, you know, now you opened a whole can of worms there, Zach. And let me tell you, that is a great question. It's a long big debate. So if I let's I'll put it this way, right? So if I buy a car, right? Mm-hmm. If I buy the car, does the sound system that come with it work? If I buy a brand new car, well, yeah, all right, the sound system works. Yep. But Do I want a better sound system?
Yes.
Well, we always want better sound system, right? Better music. I know we're both music fans, right? So what do? You go out and you purchase a better sound system, right? But the one that came with the car is fine. You can listen to music, right? So the stance is at least Windows has built-in and you're protected going out the gate. We got software, it's on board, it's protected going out the gate. You don't have to go to a third party. Now, does the third party make better software? Probably most of the time, yes, because it's their bread and butter, right? If you go to a security place like McAfee, Kaspersky, I know it's debatable, Symantec, right? And again, everybody has what they like and what they don't like. You're probably going to get a better piece of software than something like Windows Defender, right? Because Windows Defender, and honestly, all I've run is Windows Defender and Microsoft Security Essentials, which today, Windows Defender and Microsoft Security Essentials are essentially the same. Boy, that's redundant. And they're built in together. But the point is, I didn't have to pay for anything, and it does a very, very good job of catching what I need. Absolutely. So to answer your question, yes, you can. You can let Windows just do its thing. Can you get better functionality and maybe additional functionality that's not built into Windows Defender by going to a third party? Yeah, absolutely, you
Better
can.
safe than sorry.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully that answers the question.
It does. Thank you.
Let's go ahead real quick and let me show you where I would follow up with my anti-malware or anti-software. I know we're coming up to time on this one, and we'll probably have to go into a part 2. Let me show you here, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to dive back down into my Windows command prompt. Actually, we'll use the luxury of the modern UI here, Metro UI. And I'm just going to type defend, and we'll bring up Defender. And it does tell me, right? Here's another kind of security warning. It's not giving me a pop-up, but it is letting me know, hey, you need to scan this now. But what I want to kind of do is go over to history. And history is viewed only through administrative privileges, and you can see why. It says to help protect the privacy of users, these items are hidden. There could be potentially, private information here that we don't just want anybody seeing. But I'm going to go ahead and view details, and it looks like it already quarantined it, and it looks like it already removed it too. So let me try that one more time. I know we're gonna try to trick it. Okay, so there we go. I've got another copy. I've got a couple of copies of the BIOS strand. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this text. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's do a custom scan here. And I'll do a scan now, and we're going to do this to the E drive, my data drive, and yeah, we'll just leave it like that. And we'll do a scan now. Ooh, is it doing it? Okay, well, maybe let me try that again. I'll do the recycle bin as well. And it doesn't seem like it is scanning. Okay. I'll try that one more time here. View details. No, it isn't doing it. So, all right, let's go ahead and copy this over here, and maybe it'll do the same thing. What I'd like to show you is the history that is in Windows Defender, and it does look like that it caught it that time. I do have a default action that says, hey, if you found a virus, take care of it for me. Don't wait for me to do it. But let's see here. No. All detected items, view detail. There we go. So, okay, I just had to change my view here because it isn't quarantined. It applied a default action. It said if it is a highly vulnerable virus, or a high-level security risk, just take care of it for me. Don't quarantine it. Don't wait for me to do anything to it. Take care of it. So that's why I had to look at the all detected items. And right here I can see that the file can't be accessed to be used by another process. Notice that we have a virus severity level here. It said it's quarantine, and the detection method as well is standard. And it's really all I got to do from here is I could remove it from the history as well here too. So that brings me to my next point. Kind of lost my train of thought there because sometimes with the security alerts, what can happen is you can say, don't alert me. Just go ahead and take care of the problem, right? This also happens in the Windows firewall, and let me show you what I mean here too. If I go down to Control Panel, System and Security, the Windows firewall, let me close this down, give us a little more real estate. Notice that we have notification settings, all right? And it tells me, notify me with when a Windows firewall blocks a new app, and we've got it notify all the way down for every one of the network profiles. Some people say don't notify me. because I don't want to be interrupted. Well, I'm of the mindset I want to know when something's being blocked, and here's why. If you're never aware of the fact, you might be under attack and you don't even know it. You might have something like a Trojan that's trying to download into your computer and pave the way for another attack. You might have some kind of worm that's sitting outside of your network adapter that's trying to make its way on your computer and then replicate and use your resources. And if things keep getting blocked and you're not aware of it, you know, out of sight, out of mind, I don't know what's going on. So I would say that when it comes to security alerts, make sure that you are aware of the situation. Don't disable security alerts. Maybe you don't have to have them so intrusive, but definitely with the severity level being on high, you should be aware of all of those. So a couple of things that you can do, again, pop-ups, browser redirections, security alerts, a lot of other things that we have to talk about here, Zach, but it looks like I've talked way too much.
But you did a great job. Troubleshoot, PC security issues, CompTIA A+ 902. There'll be a part 2. This was part 1. Wes, any last words? Or are we good?
No, I think we're good. We're going to go ahead and we're going to leave them with the cliffhanger on this one. You'll have to come back to part 2 to see what we're going to talk about next.
Thank you, Wes. Awesome job. Hey, and thank you for watching IT Pro TV. Remember, a good IT Pro is always learning. I'm Zach Memis.
And I'm Wes Bryan.
And we'll see you very soon.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.